How much weight have you lost doing carnivore? Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name's Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. A lot of people come to carnivore for weight loss, and I've always found it interesting because I mainly do carnivore because I have eating disorders. I have an addiction to volume eating, and I have an addiction to sugar and carbohydrates. So I've gotten flack from people who don't quite understand, and these are mainly people in my personal life, and they typically mean well, but they don't understand that that's why I do carnivore. I don't do it for the weight loss. Weight loss is the happy side effect I've had. Yes, I still have more weight to lose. I've lost 165 pounds. A lot of people out there have turned to carnivore to lose weight. So that's the happy side effect. This is what I do to feel good. And the effect of it is losing weight. Even though I've been at a weight plateau for a few years now, I'm trying to understand why that is. I can't get my doctors to explain to me why my fasting insulin is high without them following up with a comment like, just take the Ozempic. And that's very frustrating for me because I understand the importance of getting into a healthier weight, especially now at the age of 50, but I have to worry about, well, what those drugs do. And more importantly, why is my fasting insulin so ridiculously high on a carnivore diet? And they just don't seem interested in pursuing an answer to that. They'd rather just give me a medication. A lot of people who have turned to carnivore for weight loss have had really good success, but they end up going back off carnivore and they go, oh, well, best thing I was doing before. I felt the best when I was doing it and I had weight loss and then I went off of it, and they've had a hard time being consistent since. And that's one of the key things when it comes to carnivore is being consistent and finding your level. Some people need to be 90% consistent. Some people need to be 95% consistent. And what I mean by that is they can afford to have a little treat here or there and it doesn't throw them off. And other people need to be 100% consistent. And I'm one of those people because I stick to it and I don't have a lick, taste, or bite of anything off a carnivore diet. So my 165 pounds didn't come all at once. I originally lost a lot of weight when I started a zero carb way of eating. And then I put a lot of that weight back on because after a year, I kind of fell off the wagon and I was trying to do it very controlled, having a little bit of carbohydrates each week. And then the next month I tried giving myself a little bit more carbohydrates each week. And eventually by the third month, I just went off the rails and I just had too much. And my addiction came back full force and I was just eating whatever I wanted, giving into every compulsion that I had to have whatever junk food popped in my mind. And so I put on some weight and then I started carnivore later on, and I started losing weight with that. And I felt great and I was doing really good because I was familiar with what it was like to be on a zero carb diet, but I was doing it without fat in my diet. So I was going through what was known as protein poisoning or rabbit starvation. And I had all these side effects. One of the biggest ones was a lack of sleep and brain fog. For people who say you can't lose weight if you're not sleeping well, my rabbit starvation got so bad, I was only sleeping about 4 hours a night. 4 hours a night. It was really, really difficult. It was a deep sleep, but once I woke up, I was awake and I just couldn't stop thinking. My mind was awake and I had a lot of brain fog, and I was losing a ton of weight. I was losing 30 pounds a month. I did that for 5 months straight, extremely strict. And then for the rest of that year, I did zero carb, but I had more protein and more red meat in my diet. And that seemed to get rid of that brain fog. But for the most part, that 5 months, I was on only a few hours sleep a night and I couldn't nap through the day no matter how hard I tried. I felt physically good in some ways. My joint pain was gone. I was moving like I was a lot lighter than I was. I was still a big guy. I was still over 300 pounds at the time, but I was quickly losing all this weight. I got down to 285. And then I just started putting on weight after I think another 7 months passed, and I started slowly reintroducing carbohydrates in the form of junk food, of course. I went up and down until I found carnivore. And then when I started carnivore, I was like, this is amazing. This is sustainable. I didn't have horrible constipation like I had when I was zero carb. And I was having some sugar substitutes like aspartame in my gum. I was allowed to have as much of that as I wanted. And I was having probably about 2 packs a day of that because I was still not dealing with the actual sugar problem. So the weight loss was there, but I didn't feel good. With carnivore, you feel good And the side effect is you start losing the weight. And that's the beautiful thing about that. I started losing weight, and then I started dealing with kidney stones, and it really set me back. I ended up going off the carnivore diet because all that uric acid that I had from all those years of gout wasn't bothering me anymore when it came to gout, but it was backing up in my kidney as I was trying to flush out of my kidney. And my kidney wasn't flushing out all those uric acid crystals. So I started taking a medication, allopurinol, to dissolve those uric acid crystals in my body. And I still take it every now and then. I find if I start fasting, guaranteed, I'll get kidney stones again. So I have to watch it when it comes to fasting. My body doesn't agree with it. My kidneys don't agree with it more specifically. Now, it's also a bit of a strain on the body, but either way, I yo-yoed on and off carnivore for a while, and my weight was going up 40, down 40, up 40, down 40 for quite a while. And then I eventually became strict with carnivore, and I lost the rest of that 165 pounds. And I've leveled off, and so overall, that's a wonderful goal. But what's as important as pounds is inches. So I've always noticed when somebody loses weight, at least in my case, and I've seen it with other people, to be honest, you lose weight and everything starts shrinking. And eventually it gets to the point where you stop losing weight and you level off, but your body continues to tighten because that skin starts tightening and your body's still changing. So even though I leveled off at 285 at one point, I was still losing inches on my waist. Now, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like 6 more inches on my waist came off. It was like another maybe 2 or 3 inches. And that was just de-bloating. That was skin tightening. And that was just physically looking better because I was on a zero carb diet. Your body's not holding on to water. Your cells aren't retaining that water anymore. So you just get more de-bloated. But I want to find out from you, how many inches have you lost? How many pounds have you lost doing carnivore? Even if you put it back on at one point because you went off of carnivore, or you stuck with carnivore, but you tried changing it to a high fat version of carnivore. So I can relate to that. I always put on weight when I go to a high fat version of carnivore. I initially put on weight and then it drops off relatively fast. I plan on doing a high fat version of carnivore coming up in the next few weeks. I've been saying that for a while, but I know when I start that, I'm initially going to put on a bunch of weight. And before it bounces off, the reason why I'm going to do that is I feel good. I feel really good when I do a high fat version of carnivore. So I'm just trying to be strategic about when I start something like that, because it's a nice, easy way to eat because you just watch the amount of calories you're getting. And I already have my fat rendered, so it's just kind of waiting to go. And then I can just have so much of that fat and a little bit of protein throughout the day. So it's just a high fat version of carnivore with moderate to low protein temporarily, because I don't think that's something that should be done long term. But it's really good for your hormones, and I have hormone imbalances. My insulin is really high, as well as my thyroid. I'm trying to make it better and better. So it's been off for 30 years. It's gotten better, but it still has a ways to go. And being on a high fat diet seems to help that along. Did you find when you did carnivore, the weight just melted off? Did you find when you tried carnivore, on top of how good you feel when you do carnivore and all these other health problems fall in line and kind of clear up, how much did your waistline go down even if you didn't lose any weight? It's this delicate balance. You want to pay attention to the scale, but just as much or more so, you want to pay attention to inches. I'd rather stay the same weight rather than lose 6 or 7 inches on my waist along with 60 or 70 pounds. Ideally, if you're keeping the same weight and you're losing inches around your body, that means your bone density is improving, your muscle mass is improving, and your organs are maintaining their lean mass. And that's something you want to try and maintain. So inches are actually more important than the weight. But you want to always make sure you're paying attention to both. You don't want to be married to one or the other, but ideally you want to pay attention to inches more than the actual scale numbers. Usually with guys, it works pretty good. Guys just start thinking of a diet and they start losing weight because we have more lean mass to work with. And because we have more lean mass, it's easier to just burn through calories compared to most females that when they go on a diet, they're already lacking in lean mass and bone density to begin with compared to a guy. So a 200-pound woman compared to a 200-pound guy, there's really no comparison because typically men weigh more than women to begin with. And we have just more dense bones, more muscle mass. Even a lean guy will have more strength compared to a female. I'm not trying to sound sexist when I say that. It's just the reality of the situation. So we all want to lose inches. We all want to lose pounds. But Let me know how you've been doing on your carnivore journey. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that you've been losing more pounds than inches or inches than pounds? So how can you tweak it so you're satisfied with whatever results you're getting? More than anything, I want you to keep in mind, it's not a race. Comparison is a thief of joy. If you're paying attention to someone else who's lost a lot of weight because they're doing carnivore, maybe they've been on a different health journey than you. Maybe they had more weight to lose than you. Maybe they did things a little different with their eating or with how strict they were with carnivore and less processed foods or something like that in there. Or maybe they just led a more active lifestyle day to day that they lost weight very easily and very fast. So you just got to always pay attention to what you're doing. It's okay to look around and see what effects other people are getting and kind of touch base with other people, but compete with yourself, not other people. All right. So anyway, thanks a lot. I hope you leave a comment. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.